Hello students, hope you all are doing good, and today's topic is the continuation of unit 14, circulation in animals. Let me just recollect the points which are related to arteries and veins. Last class I told you arteries are always carrying oxygenated blood from the heart to different parts of the body, whereas veins collect deoxygenated blood from various parts of the body into the heart. Then when you talk about these two, there are two exceptions, as I told you in the last class. Pulmonary artery and pulmonary veins are exceptions. So today, continuation of that external and internal structure. Yes, we are going to learn a very interesting topic today with lot of new things you are going to learn. So the first subtopic of this blood circulation is types. Let us learn now the types of blood circulation. There are three main types of blood circulation you can come across in human being. The first one is systemic circulation, the second one is pulmonary circulation, third one is coronary circulation. When we just talk about the systemic, you can understand very clearly there is a system. System means they are provided with well developed arteries and veins. So blood will always flow into those blood vessels like pulmonary artery as well as aorta. So when I just talk about the first type, systemic circulation, here you have to think about the from left ventricle. You know very well, pulmonary artery takes deoxygenated blood from the right ventricle to the lungs. Last class I told you, pulmonary artery which takes the blood from the right ventricle to the lungs for purification. Once the blood is purified in the lungs, that will be brought back to your left auricle by pulmonary veins. Three pairs of pulmonary veins, they originate from lungs, bring oxygenated blood back to the heart. Definitely they pour it inside the left auricle, and of course bicuspid valve will be open. This oxygenated blood which has been brought from the lungs will be just dropped down into the left ventricle. So your left ventricle now receives only oxygenated blood from the lungs. So this oxygenated blood should be supplied to different parts of the body, and that is done by aorta. You all know very well, aorta will originate from left ventricle, which is the largest artery that takes the oxygenated blood from the left ventricle to different parts of the body. So this is called systemic circulation because there is a system. You can see the blood is taken from right ventricle to the lungs, purification is taking place, and after purification it comes back to the left ventricle. From left ventricle it has been taken to different parts of the body through aorta. Aorta is the largest artery in human being. So there is a system you can come across here, hence it is called systemic circulation. Deoxygenated blood which is just pumped from the right auricle through tricuspid valve to the right ventricle. From right ventricle pulmonary artery arises. It takes the deoxygenated blood from the right ventricle and it goes to the lungs for purification. As I just now specified, for after purification, again when it comes out, three pairs of pulmonary veins are coming out of the lungs and it enters into the left auricle. So this is actually pulmonary means lungs. Blood is taken to the lungs for purification. Once lungs purify the blood, it is called oxygenated blood. Oxygenated blood will be brought back to the heart through the pulmonary veins. So here you can come across lungs play a very important role of purification. That is what it is called, pulmonary circulation. Now comes the third one, coronary circulation. Coronary artery is an artery, comes out from aorta. When aorta branches out of the heart, the first division, nothing but the coronary artery. That coronary artery will be branched out into right and left side, and they just supply the oxygenated blood to the walls of the artery. Heart, because the heart needs nutrients for its pumping function. It has to be pumped always. So for that pumping function they are in need of food. This food will be supplied from the blood which has been supplied through the coronary artery. So a pair of coronary artery called as right and left artery just goes down to the walls of the cardiac muscles, to the walls of the heart, and they supply the blood for them to function properly. Coronary sinuses, which are nothing but the coronary veins, collect the deoxygenated blood from the walls of the heart and they come back to the right atrium. Then as usual it goes to the lungs and purification will be done. Okay. So, coronary artery and coronary veins are involved in this circulation. This type of circulation is called as coronary circulation. Let me just move on to the next topic, heartbeat. Before going into this heartbeat, children, you must listen. Definitely when you go to the doctor, when you have fever or some disorder in your body, when you are disturbed with high temperature or something, doctor will use some instruments like stethoscope and BP apparatus. That time you would have definitely wondered why is he using, what is he doing. Yeah, now that time I am going to teach you now in detail. So, listen carefully, it is going to be very, very interesting. Heartbeat, yeah, how does your heart beat? So, as I just now told you in the functions part, yeah. So, when the right auricle is otherwise called atrium in your textbook, both are same. Your right auricle receives deoxygenated blood from all parts of the body. Last class I told you superior vena cava, inferior vena cava, two veins. They collect the impure blood. Impure blood is nothing but deoxygenated blood. They collect from all parts of the body, then they come and pour it in the right atrium. So, the pressure will be more in the right atrium. That pressure will go and push the tricuspid valve. So, tricuspid valve will be open. Now, the blood will be flowing into the ventricle. Now, immediately ventricle pressure will be more. So, ventricle will contract. That is what it is called pumping organ. Ventricle is nothing but the lower part. You can see the diagram there. Yeah. So, the lower part will be contract. This contraction is called systole. Okay. So, when the ventricle contracts, which is nothing but systolic pressure is created, which will push the valve. That valve is called pulmonary valve. Pulmonary artery only is going to take the blood to the lungs. So, that pulmonary valve, no, semilunar valves are present there, that will be pushed. So, that semilunar valve will be open, this blood will be pushed inside the pulmonary artery. Okay. So, during which the ventricles will contract, that is called systole. Okay. When ventricle contract, that is termed in biologically as systole. Okay. After the blood is pumped inside the pulmonary artery, ventricle will relax, that is called diastole. Okay. So, contraction is called systole and again they will relax. They will once the blood is pushed into the arteries or the particular vessels, they will relax. That is called diastole. It is not there in the thing, but you can just refer your textbook. So, one systole, one diastole is called one heartbeat. I hope it is very clear. Contraction of the ventricle and relaxation of the ventricle. When will it be contracted? Once it is filled with blood. Okay, that time it will contract because it has to push it to the next region. That is called systolic pressure. So, when will it be relaxed? Once this is pumped out empty, this will relax. The muscles, cardiac muscles will relax. So, systole and diastole both together constitute one heartbeat. So, if you just see in our normal human body, normal beat should be 75 times per minute. If it is excess, then you are undergoing with some problem in the heart, then you will have to consult a doctor. And even if it is lesser, that will also lead to problem. Again we should go to the doctor for treatment. Okay. So, this is a normal heartbeat. So, when you talk about the normal heartbeat, I have just given here the some of the points here, how what is actually happening. The next paragraph you can see very clearly, children, very beautifully it is given in our textbook, how the heartbeat is originated, how it is going to be conducted to the entire surface of the ventricle. First, as I told you, you can see the diagram where it is just labeled as blue color, lines are there. You see the first line which is just beginning from the upper auricle, yeah, that is called as sino-auricular node, SCA node, yeah, that is called as pacemaker. So, that is why heart attack patient, when they go for open heart surgery or angiogram and all, this particular pacemaker will not work, and nowadays they are fixing artificial pacemaker, because that is the area where heartbeat begins. Yeah, that vibration of a heart begins in the particular point. That point is called as SCA node. SCA node is nothing but sino-auricular node, which is otherwise called as pacemaker. So, from that blue color dot you can see, from that vibration begins So the vibration will be spread to the upper auricle. Auricle is the first chamber, yeah. So just look at the diagram, and it comes down. You see the ventricle is the lower portion. So that heartbeat from sino-auricular node, which is nothing but the pacemaker, it starts there and vibration will spread around, then it comes down to a particular place where you can see one junction called sino-auricular valve. One valve is there, so it will just push up the valve. The valve will be opened. Near to the valve you can see sino-auricular node, N-O-D-E. Node is nothing but knots, K-N-O-T-S, knots. In Tamil we say mudichu. Yeah, all these nerves are just joined together. You can see on mudichu like structure, that's called node, sino-auricular node. Okay, that node will receive the impulse from the upper chamber. The upper partition, vibration begins, no, it will be just passed on to the sino-auricular node through that valve. Now what happened, this vibration will be spread. You can look at the diagram, children, and it spreads to the ventricle. Ventricle side you see so many branches, fibers are there. So this fibers are called Purkinje fibers, because it was found out by a scientist called Purkinje. Yeah, Purkinje is a scientist name. So Purkinje fibers are there, which will just take the impulse to the entire part of the ventricle. Now already vibration started in the upper part. Now it's just transmitted to the lower part through the various fibers which are named as Purkinje fibers. It is also otherwise called as bundle of His. His is H capital letter. Name of the scientist, one part is His. That's why they just called this particular bundles also as bundle of His. Now let me just move to the next one, pulse. Pulse and heart sound both are related with this heartbeat. Pulse, when blood is forced into the arteries, you know very well, usually people will keep the finger in the hand, here in the wrist region, forefinger will be kept, and they used to listen the sound there using stethoscope. When the blood is forced into the artery, what happens? The artery wall will be widened, artery will be broadened. So that time you can read the pulse here, or keeping your forefinger on the wrist region. So normal pulse rate ranges from 70 to 90 per minute. Now let me just teach you about heart sound. Heart, when you just use stethoscope and hear the sound, you can very easily understand lub and tub sound. What is lub sound? When do you get tub sound? I'll tell you. Now, as you all know very well, our heart is a peculiar heart. Other than animals, no, God has created a beautiful heart which has a special character of, that's why they call myogenic heart. Myogenic heart is, they are rhythmic in function, I can say. They contract and relax automatically. So that's called rhythmic contraction and relaxation they have. So I just told you in the beginning, right atrium is filled with deoxygenated blood. They come and push, tricuspid valve will be pushed, gate will be open, blood will be pumped into the ventricle, and after that valves will be closed. You understand? So when valves are getting closed, as you when you close your door at home, what do you say? Dub sound. So when you open, lub sound. So that's a sound it creates. So when valves are open, allowing the blood to flow from the upper region to the lower regions, from the right ventricle through the pulmonary artery, again one sound. Again you have the arch like structure, systemic valve, or what you call the semilunar valve is present in the pulmonary junction, that will also be closed. That time you get sound dub sound. So when it is open, lub. So lub tub sound is a continuous sound because of the closure of what you call it as semilunar valves as well as the aortic valve. Same way, when left ventricle pumps the blood to the through the aorta to different parts, their aortic valve will be open and closed. When it is closed, the sound will be dub. When it is open, the sound will be lub. So that's why when you just hear the heart sound, you always get the sound of lub tub sound. Okay, that is, I hope it is clear. Now next topic is cardiac cycle. The sequence of events, so many events are taking place in the heart, that is called as cardiac cycle, and the different events we will see now. First one is atrial systole. Same thing, only I am repeating. Atrial is atrium, contraction of right atrium, so that it will pump the blood to the lower chamber, right ventricle. Okay, so that's called atrial systole. When auricle or the atrium is contracting, that is called atrial systole. That will last for 0.1 second. Then after that, ventricle will be filled with blood. Then ventricle will undergo contraction, ventricular systole. That will last for 0.3 seconds. Then finally, ventricle will relax because the blood is already forced to the pulmonary artery to the lungs. Now it will relax. That's called ventricular diastole. That will last for 0.4 seconds altogether. Each heartbeat will be lasting for 0.8 seconds. That you can see in the pie chart also given in your textbook clearly. Now we move on to the very interesting topic, blood pressure. Now we are going to see what is hypertension, high BP, low BP. Some of your parents and grandparents will be having. So it's good to know about this more. Okay. Now blood pressure. The meaning itself you can just understand from the heading. When the blood is forced into the artery, so from the heart, blood is going through aorta to different parts of your body. So you have so many branches. When it comes out from the heart, it is called artery. When the artery is branching into your finger and all, it is called arterioles. OLES, arterioles. So the blood will be taken from the heart, goes to nook and corner of your body. That time it will go with the pressure. Okay. So the artery is a minute small tube, I told you in the previous class. The tube, when it flows inside the tube, it will create a pressure in the lateral walls of the artery. That is called as blood pressure. So blood pressure is defined as when the blood is flowing inside the artery, the pressure is created on the walls of the artery. This is called blood pressure. Normal blood pressure should be 120 mm to 80 mm. 120 mm is the diastolic pressure, and you know very well 80 mm will be the systolic. So you have systolic pressure and the diastolic pressure variation if it goes above this range. If it goes above 120 mm, then M of mercury, Hg is mercury. So you can read it like this: normal blood pressure is 120 mm to 80 mm mercury. When it goes above this level 120 mm, the person is having hypertension, high blood pressure. When it goes below 80 mm, that person is called as a hypotension patient, that is low blood pressure. Once again I will repeat, above 120 mm we will be considered as a hypertension, high blood pressure. Below 80 mm, then it is called as hypotension. So I told you hypertension means more pressure, hypotension means less pressure. Okay. Now you know the range also. Now let me just go to the instruments what I have in my hand. I will show you. This is a sphygmomanometer, children. You can see this is a sphygmomanometer, and very interesting, children. When you go to doctor will definitely tell you if you have fever or giddiness, no, they will take this instrument. You can see this instrument has main parts. I will show you here. This actually this sphygmomanometer is the manometer instrument which is used to read the cardiac cycle, that how the heart is beating and other functions of the heart will be read by the manometer here. So this particular instrument, we have two types of sphygmomanometer. One is called as monometric. What I have in my hand is called monometric. Then the second one, digital one, I will show you now. That's called as modern sphygmomanometer. When you look at this sphygmomanometer, this is definitely very, very useful for the hypertension patient to check themselves about their health problems. This particular manometer helps to estimate the blood circulation and working of the heart in a proper condition, whether your heart is working properly, whether we have the normal blood pressure that, as I have specified now, 120 to 80 mm of mercury. So you can see here it has one rubber cuff. This is the rubber cuff, and here we have a bulb, and also you have a screw just to loosen and tighten, and here we have the readings of the instrument which is just graded from the, you can see the numbers from here 30 till 290, and mercury is there. There is a mercury in the center. How does it function? How can you use it? This rubber cuff, no, this will be tied in the upper arm region. Brachial artery. Brachial artery is nothing but the largest artery present in the upper arm. So you can tie this rubber cup tightly around the upper arm region. This should be tightly tightened, and when you just tie it here, then using this bulb you can loosen and tighten the screw. You pump the air like this. So what happened, it will, since it is tightened, the artery, inside the artery blood is flowing, isn't it? So this particular tube will read it, and that is connected with the manometer. So here you can see when the mercury level, one dot is there, when the mercury is just raising, when it comes to 80 to 120, you must be very careful if you are a normal person. So you must use your stethoscope also. Doctor will use the stethoscope. You know very well how it has to be used. So stethoscope will be used here, and this will be kept here brachial artery. So tighten the screw, pump this using it, and this will be tightened. So when it is fully tightened, this will read the blood flow inside, the pressure of the blood flow. So the mercury will raise. When it touches the 80, the ear in the 80 level, automatically the lup sound will start. Lup, tup, that will begin from 80. So you keep on pressing this knob like this, bulb like this, and when it reaches 120, if you are a normal person, when it comes to that mercury level comes to 120, it will automatically ceases. Ceases means disappear. The sound you can't hear. Using the stethoscope, you won't get the sound. You have to use the stethoscope as I use now. So this should also be pressed, and the stethoscope will give you the sound. Okay. So 80 laptop will begin, and 120 laptop will stop. That means you are a normal person. Suppose if it doesn't begin from 80, it begins from 60, means you have low pressure. Suppose the heartbeat goes up beyond 120, means you have high pressure. Is that clear, children? So this is the monometric type of sphygmomanometer, olden type, traditional type. Accurate. This will be accurate because it doesn't work with battery and all, only with the help of mercury. So from 80, laptop sound should begin, and 120 it should be ceased. Ceased means stopped. Below 80, if it begins, you are having hypotension, low pressure. If it goes above 120 and stop the laptop sound, very easy for you. You yourself can do it if you have it at home. So above 120 means high pressure. Okay, this is about the monometric, and I have another one, digital. This you would have seen latest one, but not so accurate like the other one. This you have the pressing type only. We have again the cuff. This cuff will be just inserted wherever you want to put. You can just insert it like this and tighten it. Then when you tighten it, this will automatically, you have to switch it on. When the switch is on here, and automatically you will get the digital. Yeah, this is called as modern digital type. It will be just showing you the systolic pressure as well as diastole, as I told you, 120 to 80. So that should be also. So this is a modern equipment where people are using, and this is operated through battery. So when the battery is, once the battery is weak, this won't give you the accurate reading. So you can't believe this, but this monometric type is very, very correct. Then the next one, last part of the lesson, we are going to complete blood grouping. A, B, O, A, B. How do you say, children? When a friend asks you which blood group are you belong to, you will proudly say I am A, B. How do you know? So this was developed by a scientist, actually by a scientist called Carl Landsteiner in the year of 1900, and it was recognized De Castello and Steny in the year of 1902. So these were the scientists contributed their work towards finding out different blood groups in human being, and they categorized the groups as A, B, O and AB. Now look at the tabular column given there, children. Suppose if a person is having, for example, I belong to B group. How am I say I belong to B group? First, when you go for blood checking, you know very well, they will prick your finger, they take a drop of blood, and they had antigen along with that. Okay, when antigens, for example, if you belong to group A, okay, your RBC cell, the membrane, will have antibody B, and inside RBC cell plasma is there, that will have antigen A. You can see the chart, children. Person belonging to A group will have antibody B inside on the RBC cell, and A antigen will be present inside the RBC. That means by looking at the inside antigen only, your group will be determined. Let me tell you another example. If you belong to a group of B, RBC cell I taught you last time, round cell, outer membrane, you belong to B. Outer membrane will have antibody A, inner liquid, that plasma will carry antigen B. So they always determine your blood group by looking at plasma antigen present inside the RBC cell. Let me just recollect or read the topic. So if you belong to group A, your RBC outer membrane will have antibody B and the plasma will have A antigen. If you belong to B group, your plasma membrane will have A antibody, B antigen. If you belong to AB group, your plasma outer membrane will not have any antibody, your plasma will have antigen A and B. That's why you belong to AB. Suppose if you belong to O, that means the outer membrane of RBC will have A and B antibodies, and inside plasma will not have any antigen. Is that clear, children? You can see the person who is having AB can donate blood only to AB, but he can receive from any person, A, B, O and AB. So, AB person is called as a universal recipient. He can receive from any group. Okay, when you are going for blood donation, children, you must know these types and all. Otherwise, without knowing, if you go and transmit, for example, when patient with B group is admitted in the hospital, they are searching for B group, you must be belonging to that group. Then only that patient will not die. If you just belong to A group and go and give it, and even they don't check it properly, agglutination happens. Agglutination means clumping. The blood will be clumped and the patient will be serious, he will die. So, you have to know to which, if you belong to A group, to whom and all you can donate. So, AB is a universal recipient and he can receive from any group, A, B, AO, but he can just give blood to AB only. A, if you are a A group person, you can just give blood to A and AB and you can receive from A and O, because O is a universal donor. You can give it to anybody. In O group individuals, antigen A or B are absent on the surface of their RBC, while antibodies A and B are present in their plasma. Okay, that is why persons with AB blood group are called universal recipient, as they can receive blood from any blood group. Persons with O blood group are called universal donor, as they can donate blood to any blood group. Okay. Now, when we go for blood transfusion, it is very, very important to do the compatibility test. What is compatibility test? Matching of blood between a donor and a recipient. Okay, that is antigen antibody compatibility test. If an individual receives a mismatched blood, okay, mismatched blood group, definitely agglutination takes place. What is agglutination? Agglutination is clumping of blood takes place. It may lead to a death of a person also. Okay, hope you understood ABO blood grouping clearly, children. Last part of this RH factor is very important, children. Once there was a scientist called Landsteiner and Weiner in the year of 1940. They found out a special factor in monkey called rhesus monkey. That's why it's named as RH factor. So, when you go for blood checkup, no, doctors will check for whether the blood is having A antigen, A antibody, B antibody. Apart from that, whether your blood is having extra factor. That factor is named as RH factor. If you carry RH, they will say you are RH positive. If you don't have RH in your blood, no, it's a small factor, you will be called as RH negative factor. So, that also is very, very important when you go for blood donation. So, now we are going to see the last part of the lesson, also very interesting, children. Lymphatic system. It's made up of lymph vessels, lymphatic ducts, lymphatic arteries and fluid called lymph. As I told you, blood is red in color. Lymph is a colorless fluid which is running along with the blood. Blood is going through the artery. Below that, one lymphatic artery vessel is there. Through that it will run. What is the function of it? It will bathe the cells when there is a bacteria, virus enters. No, it will just bathe and it will kill along with WBC cells. It also transport oxygen, carbon dioxide, wherever the blood is not able to enter, no, children, the tissues and the intercellular space, in between the space and all, this lymph will go, bathe it, kill the germs and give them food, oxygen, nutrients and collecting the excess fluid, metabolites. Metabolites are end product of metabolism. Metabolism, after the breaking down of digestion, glucose is converted into, you know very well, sugar is converted into glucose, fructose, sucrose and all. So, those things will be accumulated in between the tissues. Those are called as metabolites. They will be collected back and they give oxygen, carbon dioxide will be collected back from the tissue. That is why, as I told you, wherever this blood is not able to enter, no, that area, the lymph fluid will go and carries fats and supply them so many other nutrients, and all together they do the function of protecting our body, defending our body against various infections and diseases. I hope it was very clear, children. Yes, and I will see you in the next session. Take care.